Coast TV News, First Alert Meteorologist Chris Mastrobuono with this latest edition of Weather 101. In this week's series, we are discussing La Nina. You may have heard the term used before in many of our weathercasts or throughout the news cycle. Think of La Nina, you've heard of El Nino. Well, La Nina is the sister of El Nino, and think of it as the cooler cycle, El Nino being the warmer cycle. So La Nina typically occurs generally every 3 to 5 years, but there are some instances where it can occur in successive years. Now, we typically have the trade winds that blow across the Pacific, and those winds are typically from east to west. Now, they normally blow the warm surface temperatures towards Asia. Now, in a La Nina year, those winds are much stronger, upwelling that cooler water on the Pacific across the equatorial Pacific, and that in turn changes the weather patterns across the continental USA. And what does that typically mean for our winters? Well, for us, it generally means a wetter than white winter. Doesn't mean we can't get snow or any Arctic air. It just generally favors a more milder winter as more Pacific air flows across the USA. Now, the polar jet generally pushes northward, bringing cold, snowy conditions to the upper plains, the upper Rockies region. We have wetter than normal conditions across the Pacific Northwest, as well as the Ohio River Valley, and that in turn leads to drier, warmer conditions across much of the desert Southwest and portions of the Southeast. Now, we are currently in a neutral phase, so we're not seeing a La Nina or an El Nino as we head into the month of December. So overall, we've been seeing cold, dry conditions, and as well as it's been rather active as well. And now we're looking at the long range, looking rather cold over the next few weeks as we head into the start of winter here in a few weeks. So we'll see how that carries over into winter across much of the east. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Weather 101, and we'll see you on Coast TV News throughout the week.